So let me start by saying Assalamu alaikum, everyone. May peace and blessings be on each and every one of you. I am short, brown, non-binary woman, short black curly hair, black jeans, with a t-shirt that says, I always want to make sure I get it in the right order, Marsha, Sylvia, April, Janet and Laverne. Oh, and a blue open button shirt. So let me tell you a bit about Transsexual. So Transsexual was founded in 2017 by a group of UK-based trans people who wanted to do something to counteract the misinformation being spread about trans people and our lives, and the laws impacting our lives. We campaigned because we wanted to see the improvements to trans people's quality of life. In the UK, the quality of life for trans people has been on a steady decline. That's why in 2020 we expanded the scope of our work. A survey of the UK's trans community made it clear that people wanted us to improve trans people's experiences of healthcare, access to legal recognition and legal protections, and of course to counteract the transphobia which is present across all aspects of our lives. We want the world to be a place where trans people can live safely, freely and with dignity. If you want to get involved, go to the Transsexual website or come find me after for more information. So that's the spiel done. I honestly found it really difficult sitting down and thinking about what I wanted to speak about today. And I feel like there's just so much going on, and so many of the speakers have touched on so many topics today, and it's all interconnected. The cost of living crisis, the ban on conversion therapy, which doesn't include trans people, the Rwanda policy, Roe v. Wade being repealed, and the UK's own history on abortion rights in Northern Ireland, and that 100 UK MPs actually opposed repealing abortion in Northern Ireland. And you know, the government's bill that will scrap the Human Rights Act. But before I go on, I don't know whether this has been done already, but I'd like to have a minute's silence for the victims of the recent Oslo shooting. If someone could time that would be great, please. Thank you. Okay, clearly I'm not paying attention. Thank you all so much for doing that. You know, with Europe's ever-increasing march to the far right, we can see just how much the human rights of marginalised communities are being rolled back. As someone who sits within the intersections of being a queer, non-binary Muslim of colour, honestly, every time there's a terrorist attack, it's difficult. It's devastating when these events happen, and we hope and pray that there aren't any victims. But often, for people like me, we have a second, really loud thought, and that's really hoping that the attacker isn't Muslim, because we know just how much Islamophobia increases after incidences like this. So I just want to chat a little bit more about the bigger picture. So the conversation around trans rights in the UK, as we know, has become increasingly toxic and volatile over the last few years. The conversations are often based on fear, you know, that threat to women and children, which is a common trait usually found among far-right groups. And we can see how politicians and the media are weaponizing that fear against migrants and particularly men of color, and that same tool is being used against trans people. We also know that transphobic feminists are very few in number, but they're loud, and unfortunately they do hold a lot of power. And you know, really, this fight is about trans people's humanity, but the current conversation, it's a distraction, as many people have spoken about today and shared today. You know, for example, if they focus on these minority cases or make believe cases in prisons, they distract you from the actual violence of prisons. You know, when they talk about the boogeyman in the bathrooms, you know, it's a distraction from talking about gender-based violence. When they talk about, you know, trans people infiltrating domestic violence services, which trans people have been using for decades, by the way, and who are actually protected under the Equality Act, that distracts us from the fact that trans feminine people face higher levels of violence. It's that age-old divide and conquer tactic that's been used time and time again. So what's really going on here? Trans people are being used as a test case. You know, someone mentioned earlier about we make 1% of the population and we're already dehumanized. And the government is using this to test what they can get away with. And we can see that literally unfolding before our eyes now. With the Equality Act, you know, they want to introduce a British Bill of Rights which will roll back the powers of the court. And the courts are our protection. And the fixation on single-sex spaces is a way to open up the Equality Act. And they're not going to stop just at single-sex spaces. They have a regressive view of rights. And they're using it to polarize the nation and remove the rights of the court. Trans people are being used as a political football, but there's a much bigger game being played that we need to watch too. Once they're successful in taking away our rights, they will use it to take away the rights of other marginalized groups. We can already see that happening with the aftermath of the Rwanda policy. Activists successfully prevented the flight from taking off with any asylum seekers, and because of this, the government soon after announced plans to scrap the Human Rights Act and create a new Bill of Rights. Let's be clear, this bill is a power grab by a government that has no respect for our rights. Well, that came at a good time, thank you. The Human Rights Act protects everyone from injustice and abuse of power and allows us to stand up to government and institutions like the police or local councils when they get it wrong. We can't let them get away with this. This is a government that repeatedly changes the rules to suit them and is now planning to rip up the basic rights and protections we all rely on to make themselves untouchable. Time and time again, we see that this Tory government doesn't respect people's rights and has no regard for the law. It's the 50th anniversary of the first Pride March in the UK this year, and we've come so far in our fight.
Fighting for the same shit.
Yeah, unfortunately we are still fighting for the same shit. But you know what? We've come so far in our fight for our rights, but we do still have a way to go. We have so much to celebrate, but also so much yet to do. It's important that we take a hard look at the gap between the world we imagine for our communities and the world we live in, where parts of our communities are being left behind. We must remember our roots and who we are as a community. We're a beautiful, vibrant and diverse community. I mean, just look around you today. A community that I'm so proud and honoured to be part of. We need to focus on making our spaces safer and inclusive and strengthening people's voices within the movement so that they and we don't get pushed to the edges where we feel like throwing bricks is the only thing left to do. We're already a marginalised community, and it's vital that we stand up for everyone in our community. Currently it's trans people getting the roughest rides and people of colour. We have so much to celebrate because we've come so far, but we need to continue supporting and fighting for the most marginalised in our communities. Trans people of colour, those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, sex workers, asylum seekers, and refugees. We have so much power in our community, and each and every one of us can use our privileges and strengths to fight for a better, safer, and freer world. So often we come to these things and we leave feeling super empowered and galvanized, but what can we actually do? Well, one of the things you can do is go on the Transaction website, check out our resources on easy actions that you can take for trans rights. Whether you have 10 minutes, whether you have an hour, or whether you have longer, have a look. You can share and read resources, signing petitions, writing to your MP, even though we know and continuously see that this government is out of touch and out of ideas. So, maybe they need your letters even more, right? You can also donate money and your time to LGBTQ+ or trans-specific community groups in your local area. We talk a lot about activism being London-centric. I actually live in Nottingham. There are so many amazing, trans-specific groups and LGBTQ+ groups around the country. Support your local strike actions. We've talked a lot about our liberation not coming through electoral politics. There's a lot of truth in that. There's so much we can do through speaking to our MPs and through voting, but it's not the only way that we affect change. Importantly, look at the rights of black people and people of colour, look at women's rights, look at all of the action that has had to happen, including direct action, to make those sustained changes. Our rights, all of our human rights in this country have been hard fought for, with blood, sweat and tears of activists through the ages. Let's not forget that. So when they tell you that violence isn't the answer, violence is literally the only way that we have the precarious human rights that we have today. But also, most of the allyship is the small things you can do around you. Recognize the power that you have in yourself and in your life. It's conversations with parents, with families, with friends and colleagues, lobbying for gender neutral toilets in public spaces, continuing to still have meetings in person, and online, and introducing yourselves with your pronouns, and encouraging allies to introduce themselves with their pronouns too. And not just amplifying the narrative of trans horror, but finding stories of trans joy too. This will help young trans people as well as supporting trans activism. We've heard from so many powerful speakers here today. Stand for us, stand with us, defend us and our human rights, and keep on the pressure for change by any means necessary. Two things before I go. A huge thank you to all of the organisers, Trans Activism UK, who've spent so much time and energy in putting this protest together and then dealing with the police making us move from Parliament Square. A massive thank you. I'm going to cough again, I'm so sorry. I'm nearly done, I promise. A massive thank you to all of those who have spoken and shared their wisdom and energy and powerful words with us. And the biggest thank you and solidarity to each and every one of you for turning up, whether you're part of the LGBTQ+ community, whether you're trans or not. Thank you for being such a fucking brilliant ally. We need you. We need all of you. All of us working together in solidarity is what we need. Let me end with a little chant. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that when I'm going to cough again.
We believe in you.
Thank you. All right. Trans rights are human rights.
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 Come on, you can be louder than that. Trans rights are human rights.
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 Trans rights are human rights!
Trans rights are human rights!
Thank you all so much for coming today. Thank you.